we chatted with the Winona, Minnesota-based band Ghostland Radio. We talked about getting into music, influences, what's coming up for the band, COVID, and songwriting. We also talk about where you can find out more and how to follow along with this unique-sounding band. You can find more conversations on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is Lacrosse Local.
So I'm Bryan Crigler. I was actually born in St. Louis, Missouri. And music I got into at a young age. My father got me into it, and then I had uncles, and listened to a lot of music. It was kind of a good escape for me, and I always wanted to emulate that. So
how did Ghostland Radio, how did that come about?
So Scott Lochner and I, years and years ago, were in a band called Moondog together. We played regionally for probably 10 years or so, a long time. And then we kind of put that down for a while. I got into farming and did some other stuff. Scott did some things. The other guys did things. And then I went through a period of just dealing with a lot of intense kind of just looking at my own bullshit, that turning that lens inward and kind of processing a lot of things. And
sure.
I ended up writing basically a whole album in the matter of a couple of months. So I called Scott up and I was like, dude, I got this new thing going on and we got to start another band. So that's basically what we did. And then, we knew musicians throughout the area. So we brought in Noah, who's a super talented musician. He's on drums and vocals. And then Ingrid Ogren is playing violin for us. So it's a cool little quartet.
So just checking out a few of your songs over the past couple of days, it seems to have a lot of theatrical elements to it, to straight up rock. And it's kind of paired with, your own unique vocal styling. What are some of the band's musical influences?
I think everybody would probably give you some slightly different answers. We actually have a super diverse musical tastes, which is awesome. And, we play in different styles of music as well, like Scott's in the People Brothers band, which is this big sound kind of funky thing. And, Noah's got his own singer-songwriter. Ingrid's got a little bit more of she's a violin player. So she's got a little bit of classical, a little bit of bluegrass. And then I come from all over the place. So, I really so part of the inspiration for some of the style of the sound of Ghostland came from sea shanties and pirate gypsy rock, I really dug that sort of stomp clap style as well. And so just incorporated a lot of that in.
There's definitely some differences between the songs, but I was going from everything from, Decemberist to Tom Waits to, those untraditional voices that are really unique. So what's coming up for Ghostland Radio? What's on your 2021 agenda?
Yeah, so we just did a really cool project with Midwest Music Fest, Tree Dome, and Carpet Blue Studios. And we did 3 videos with them, which was a lot of fun. But I think we'll probably take some of that work and we'll probably just extend that into an album. We've got enough material now that we're super excited about, and it's time, to kind of move forward with that. And all of our live shows got canceled, obviously, when the pandemic hit, and we haven't really picked it back up yet. So it's a good time to get in the studio, do that work,
So you kind of talked about, you did the songwriting before you invited people in, and you kind of talking about, turning that into an album. How has COVID affected, everything from your songwriting to, actually putting stuff down?
Yeah, well, I should say too, we wrote a lot more after we came together as a band because the sound then lent itself to different sorts of ideas. And so everyone kind of contributes now. But as far as COVID affecting all that, it's definitely, we have not gotten together as much just because we haven't had a bunch of live shows. It's a group of super polished musicians, so we like to be tight when we get together to play. So we're pretty disciplined with rehearsals. But without the shows to kind of drive those rehearsals, we haven't done so much. Although we have been writing a little bit. We got a bunch of these really neat little Focusrite, simple recording studios that can interface with our computers and we can send stuff back and forth. So we're hoping to do some songwriting that way and just trying to get creative and do stuff remotely,
So is there any particular songs that you've been working on recently or released that you're just kind of really proud of that you'd like to see kind of performed a bit more?
Actually, just before COVID hit, we released 3 new songs, and those are actually the ones that we put out through the video project we did with Midwest Music Fest. So that's cool. We're really excited about those and the kind of evolution of the sound that those represent. And there's a bunch of new ones in the works that we haven't released yet.
So you referenced Pirate Song. Which song was, which one most closely resembles that one?
We have a song called Pity Party, actually. And the backup vocals are like, I've told them to be piratey. And like, there's a little yar, there's maybe a yar in there. It sounds like a sea shanty.
Sure.
You talked about Tom Waits. It's got a little bit of that feel to it. But that kind of call and response thing with the band, I love doing that, man. Or like having them yell parts instead of sing parts. I like to have that kind of raw vibe going on.
Sure. In terms of lyrics, is that something that you spend a lot of time on, or is it something that just kind of the music comes first and then you knock out some lyrics with it? How does that work?
I do spend a lot of time on lyrics. It's really important to me at this stage in my musical life to say something that matters. I mean, I think as musicians, as any sort of entertainers, you have a lot of responsibility. People are listening. Well, actually, they're not always listening, but hopefully people are listening to what you're saying. I think it's important to say something meaningful and worthwhile, So I spend a lot of time trying to make that happen.
I find Winona to be my second home, living in La Crosse. How do you feel about the music scene there? It just seems like everything's just so highly just original. It's not, I guess, surprising, but just really exciting.
Yeah, totally. We're super fortunate, and it's almost a little odd because it's a small community. But there's 3 universities here. I find it to be a really transient town, so a lot of people coming and going. So we came up in the days of there used to be a bar called Rascals, and it would attract like really big acts moving between Madison and Minneapolis or Chicago and Minneapolis. And so we kind of grew up on that stage. And when that went away, like Ed's No Names crept up, and there's just been so much support for local music. And I do find like we live in a general area where there's a lot of just cover bands, which is cool. But Winona seems to really get out and support people that are doing original stuff. And it's just, we're real fortunate to live here, man. There's so much talent. It always blows my mind to see all these really good bands coming out of this region.
So if people want to find out more or maybe follow along on this journey of your new album, what's the best venue to send them to?
Really, we do a lot on Facebook. It tends to be our main mode of communication with people. We have an Instagram page as well. We haven't really put up our own website or anything like that. So Facebook at this point is probably the best way to find us. Ghostland, one word, radio. You'll see this really weird picture of like a circus dude with his third eye open,
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you'd like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Local. Find out more about us at lacrosselocal.com, and you can subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We appreciate it.